it time to go? Shoot, I missed the whole cue right there. Darn it. Good afternoon. Welcome to Take the Lead. I am your host, Marc Seal, and it is Thursday, and we are here every Thursday. Friday Junior, I like to call it, because it is the day before Friday. And it's really kind of a reason to play guitar, have some fun. In fact, I'm going to a concert tonight. I'm going to see the Steely Dan tribute band. It's going to be freaking awesome. So pretty hyped. We have a fun show, but for those of you that are logging in for the first time or tuning in, what is Take the Lead, you might ask yourself, and I'll tell you what it is. It is a live, fully interactive show where you guys control the show. During the week on our social medias, we have poll questions, you answer them, and we do what you want us to do, or I do what you ask me to do. And we also like to feature different videos. If you want to send in your videos, performances, or things you're working on, we can help you with it. We can watch them together on the show, pick it apart, break it down, and maybe give you some suggestions on how you might play it better. If it's simply a performance, which we've had a lot of great ones on here, send those in and we'll just feature you on it on the show, tell people about what you're doing, and it will inspire them to maybe make their own videos and send those in. And that's what makes the show so fun, in my opinion, is that we've really created this kind of neat community of guitar players. I know some of you interact offline now, which is great, and obviously in the show. One of the things that makes the show really fun for me, again, is go to the message board. If you're new here, go to the little chat we've got going on and introduce yourself, talk to people, or if nothing else, send in questions, comments. And remember that during the show, the first thing, we're going to have a poll that comes up in a minute, and I want you to answer that quickly. And that poll basically is what I'm going to do later on in the show in a section that we like to call You Take the Lead, because basically you do the poll, you tell me what you want me to do later on in the show. That's super fun, and it always keeps me on my toes a little bit. And see what else is there. I think there's more. There's Q&A, so ask questions in there as well. And then trivia. Today we're doing more trivia. We did that the last couple weeks, where we will be giving away sets of strings, or maybe a strap, or I don't know, we got all kinds of stuff that Elixir Strings has sent to us. And because they've sent us so much cool stuff, we send it to you guys. So thank Elixir for them. They're awesome. And what we want to do is, let's see, I guess we should probably just take the show and get into it. So Take the Lead. It starts now. And so we're going to break down Purple Haze. And one of the fun things I love about dealing with Jimi Hendrix, and you know, I've taught these riffs, a lot of these riffs over the years to my students. And I, again, like last week with the Zeppelin show, I try to find easier ways to play them, because a lot of times I'll be teaching them to less skilled musicians, newer players, beginners that just want to sound good, play a song they recognize. And so often I'll find easier versions, but obviously I'm not going to get into great detail here, simply because you can go find perfect tabs for them. You can find a million YouTube videos. That's not what this is. This is more to inspire you, to kind of hip you out about what these riffs and songs are, and get more in tune with the artist that we're representing, as well as find kind of fun, just little ways to play these riffs and get the idea of the style of the player. So with Hendrix, what's super amazing about Hendrix is that you can't find a video of him playing any riff even close to the same way twice. You know, he was very comfortable taking liberties with his own song. Now, the songs were the songs, basic chord structures, basic arrangements. A lot of the riffs were the riffs, but they were constantly tweaked and played in the moment. And I think artists like that, like Frank Zappa did that a lot too, and a lot of guys do, but where they would go, where if you saw them that night, you got something special. You got something that nobody else got to see if they weren't there. What I'm playing through today is I brought my first American-made Strat I ever bought myself. This is circa 1998, I think, give or take, 88 or 89. I'm using my little Rev distortion pedal tonight. I've got a Boss GT1000, and I've got a little wah pedal programmed into that. So we'll just get some of the basic ideas of the sounds. But a lot of where we can start with Hendrix is you think just like his clean sound. I'm trying to delay off, just that. Right? One of the first things I loved about Hendrix that became, to me, something that was very defined by him were those double stop hammer-ons where he would do the. And what's interesting about that is a lot of people can take their pentatonic scales, you know, and play their scales. What he would do is he would bar a lot of these notes. So you can see it there, I'm barring, say, the first two strings. And what he would do different than a lot of people was he would hammer on to the lower of the two strings. So it would force you to have to stand that finger up really tall so that on the second string, the back of my pinky is not interfering with the first string. You get those cool harmonies. You do the same thing through a pentatonic scale. you get that kind of neat sound. I see John Mayer do a ton of that where he'll just take that shape and you just see these like kind of little cascading triplet things on the way down or whatever, but it sounds really cool. And it's really been done a lot by obviously Stevie Ray Vaughan, John Frusciante, the Chili Peppers uses a lot of that. Another defining point of Hendrix was him using his thumb across the top of the neck for his bar chords so that he could have the bass note here and yet still get some of those hammer-ons and pull-offs with his pinky up above. Now, interesting story, not interesting, it's my story. And that is, if you see my thumb, I can't bend this one. I went skiing when I was 20 years old before the biggest concert of my life. We had an agent and a manager that flew out from Nashville to come see my band play on Friday. I went skiing on Wednesday. I broke my thumb really, really bad as a kid. And it was actually one of the last times I ever skied because I realized if I was going to try to have a career in music, probably a dumb move. But I couldn't get it set because I had the show in 2 days. So I ended up playing the whole show where I was pulling on the guitar like this with my thumb up. My thumb was black, swollen. It was horrible. But I had to fake my way through the show. I didn't play great, but I pulled it off and never ended up getting it set. So as a result, I can't bend it very well to get it across the top. I can bend it just enough to mute the sixth string out, which is still helpful. But if you've never done that, take your major bar chord you would normally play like this and take your first finger, move it up to the first two strings, bar those, and see if you can get your thumb up around the top like that and use that as your bass note. Now, a lot of people can do that comfortably. Again, I can't. That kind of hurts when I do that. So it was just one of those things I was never able to really adopt for that reason. But it's kind of a cool way to go. And if you watch Frusciante from the Chili Peppers play, you'll see him do that all the time. It's just a really common way to play those chords. So between the Strat, the Marshall, tons of distortion, some feedback, some whammy bar, some of those hammer-on trill things over the pentatonic scales, thumb over the neck, those were kind of the things that defined Hendrix as far as what I learned from him as a kid was some of those techniques. But then it comes to the songwriting and the riffs, right? He had so many great riffs and great songs that you go, wow, this guy just had everything going for him. It was truly tragic that he had to bounce so soon, because I can only imagine. I mean, he's the guy that would still be around today, likely just crushing it at 80 or 90 or whatever he would have been. That said, today Purple Haze was the winner, and that's just such the. If you don't even know Hendrix, you know Purple Haze, right? And that's true of a lot of even kids today. I don't know if it's TikTok or whatever it is, but I know a lot of kids, like I'll talk to students now. If I have a younger kid, I'm like, hey, have you ever heard Purple Haze? Like, oh, of course, So somehow the parents are doing their job or TikTok's finally doing something really cool. That said, Purple Haze. So I'm going to break down just a couple of riffs, how I play it, and what's kind of the iconic part of it. So I'm going neck pickup on this. I like that more gainy, and it's more fat and more hollowed out. Then here's a little more mid-rangey, right? If I do that, but I go on the neck, you get that round hollow sound. So I would go a fair amount of distortion, mid to a lot of gain, and neck pickup. And the opening riff is interesting because what he's doing here is he's just playing octaves on a B flat. So he's playing 6th fret 6th string to the octave, which is the 8th fret 4th string. And he does a lot of this stuff also where he's hitting multiple strings. Same with Frusciante and Stevie Ray Vaughan and a lot of these, and John Mayer, those are the guys that come to mind, where they're hitting more than just hitting notes individually like this, right? They're doing and getting all that percussive clicking that's going on. That percussive click meaning the other strings that are not being fretted but have that clicking sound of the pick hitting them. Now, if you play this riff by yourself, you can hear in the song there's almost like a flat 5 interval going on. And I think maybe it's happening with the bass guitar. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll play that first note and I'll play the octave, but I'll add the 7th fret of the 5th string below it. And it gives it that dissonant minor, that flat 5 tritone thing. And it just has some vibe when you're playing by yourself. For me, I happen to like it. So it does that riff 4 times, but then he goes into the ultra iconic lick where he's going to start on the 7th fret 4th string, and he's going to slide to 9, and then first finger 7th fret 3rd string, and then second finger 8th fret 2nd string. He's going to do a slight bend there. Now the trick here is to not let the note come back down before you switch to the 7th fret 4th string. So slowly. Right? You don't want to do this, right? Which I've seen people do, or just playing it normal. So what you might do is, and I go up, stop it right when I get to the top of the bend, and then grab that next note. A little vibrato. Now, I've seen a lot of different ways to play this. You can play this 5th fret, 4th string to 5th fret, 5th string, open 6th string, and then 5 slide to 7 on the 5th. So that'd be like, right? He'll slide in, and we'll get to that in a minute about how he plays it once he's loosened up. But the basic riff, you're trying to learn the notes. Now, I don't like that way as much as I ended up playing it for myself. I think I played the song live when I was, 18 or 20 years old. I haven't played it in a live situation since. But I remember what I like to do is I like to get the little quarter bend on the 5th fret and then open. Now, 5 to 5 is the same as 5 to 0 on the 4th string, right? That's still a D, but I like doing this. Now, the challenge with doing the open string there, though, is I've got to stop it before I hit the 6th string open and then slide or hammer on. Again, I think he slides and a little vibrato. You could also hammer on. Either way, it's fine. So when I play it, it would sound more like this instead of. So either way, again, just giving you options, but it sounds pretty cool. So it does that riff twice. Here's it really straight. And here's what he does once he relaxes with it. It might play it a little more just fluid. Right? You get that kind of a vibe. So once you learn the notes, take some liberties, put your style to it. This is not about trying to sound necessarily like Hendrix, but rather learning a cool riff in the way that you might want to play it. And that's something I feel really strongly about. I had this conversation with Aaron Broering today, who he subbed for me a while back. He's the Desperado Pink Floyd guy. And he came to my office. We were programming his pedal board. And we were talking about really being yourself in music. And one of the things that I was telling him and it reminded him, and he was that don't lose who you are, Aaron, as a singer, right? And he pointed that out to me that I had said that to him because he's trying so hard to mimic, a David Gilmour part or a Beach Boys part or a Desperado, Don Henley part or whatever it is. And so when he's doing that, he was starting to kind of lose part of himself, and it was a reminder to go back. And that's how I feel about guitar also, right? We could sit down and we could craft and play Hendrix if we wanted to, note for note. If you just want to focus on that, every little technique, watch 10 different YouTube videos, dissecting it. Okay, cool, but really, make it your own. Play it. That's all I'm getting at. All right, so those first two parts for that. The third part, he does sort of embellishment. He's going to start 3rd finger, 5th fret on the 5th string and slide to 7. And then 5th fret, 4th string to 7th fret, 4th. And then here's kind of a cool thing. He does this full bend. Now, when you pull a full bend on the 4th string, one of the critical elements there is that all 3 fingers are down and that you pull the string down and make sure you get all the way up to that note that's a full step above. And then when you get to that, the other hard part, you got to stop that note and go to the 5th fret without letting the note come back down. So it's this. Little vibrato. And then here, I'm going to do that same quarter bend on the 5th fret. Open on the 5th string. Open 6. And then 2nd finger, 3rd fret, 6th string. Tons of vibrato. Again, he was just beating the crap out of the guitar, so you want something that's very just aggressive. So you get that. And that was rough. I went off the edge there, right? Not used to this guitar either. The 6th string's really close to the edge of this. So you gotta be careful when you do vibrato on it. Okay, and then the last one, he's gonna start with the 5th string open and kind of play the same riff we just played, but he starts with this open on the 5th and then slide 5 to 7. 5 on the 4th string, and then this time he's going to do that same bend, full bend, and then a quick hammer on 5 to 7. Same thing with that quarter 5 bend, open, and then 3rd finger, 7th fret, 4th string, slide to 9, 7th fret, 3rd string twice, to 9th fret, and then however you want to slide off into the open. So that whole riff put together from the beginning, if I add my little flat 5 thing, it's something like this. Okay, here we get to what people often refer to as the Hendrix chord. It's called an E7 sharp 9. So it's basically just an E dominant 7 chord. And then we add our pinky to the 8th fret 2nd string, which adds that sharp 9. And some of you will say, that's a flat 3. It is a flat 3, but if you already have a major third, it's called a sharp 9. Just a little bit of trivia there. So we hit that E7 sharp 9 chord, and the rhythm, if you listen to it, it's all over the place. He does not play the same rhythm on any version or any verse. So what I did with students is trying to have something consistent is I would have them play this rhythm. I might do like 6 string, and then down, up, 6 string again, twice, down. I'm just making this up, but something like, and that's repeatable.